How's your ear?
My ears actually feeling better.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Tobin couldn't hear last week.
I still can't hear very
right.
well out of this year.
Oh, dang.
He
My
had an ear
ear
infection. Really bad ear
surface is sore from grappling, mat burn, and my neck is jacked. Not
My
as
whole
bad
body
as
hurts.
Eddie's
Stop.
was, but God. I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh, I feel like Eddie. I couldn't even bring my neck up.
I gotta text Eddie.
Ouch.
What jerk did that to you yesterday? I tell you.
Probably the guy trying to loop choke
I
me.
know, right? It could have been anyone. Yes, it was totally me.
All right. Well, let's go. So today we're on the combat-based podcast again.
Woo woo again.
We're joined by
Another combat-based podcast.
another one. We got Chris Haueter, the man,
No.
the myth,
Chris
the
Haueter.
legend, dare I say?
Chris Haueter, the commodity.
We're with Melissa Haueter,
CEO.
the CEO,
Yes, the CEO. The
I'm
commodity, the CEO, the producer.
the producer, Tobin. We got John behind the lens.
That's the man.
Hey.
Yeah.
And then Mitch Langman, our
The guest.
Our esteemed guest, all the way from
Oh,
down
esteemed.
under.
I like it.
All the way from down under.
That's
From the
it.
land down under.
So I'll apologize if you can't
women
understand.
roar
Like,
in
I'm
the
assuming
thunder.
there's going to be subtitles.
Yeah.
For this,
For
right?
you.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
you might need it.
Yeah.
huh?
So we
America.
got Mitch here, all the way from down under. We want to hear about a bunch of different stuff. We want to hear about red zone threat management.
Yep.
We want to hear about Dark Carnival. We want to hear about Muay Thai. We want to hear about you. So all this stuff. I'm interested.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in. One of my favorite books, The Mother Tongue, is about how the English language is why it rules the world, and not just because of the English Empire, but because it was an adaptable peasant language, basically based on slang. It's the most slang language, which creates all kinds of words that have multiple nuances and accents. There's so many types of English accents. If you're like in the north of England, there's an accent, the Scottish accent, the Australian, where it's the most accentable language, and the accents evolve into their own words and culture. I just wanted to bring that up. Read The Mother Tongue. I can't think of the name of the author right now because I read it 20 years ago.
Maybe they want to sponsor us. Just kidding.
I don't think
Okay.
he's that. I don't think he's that prominent.
But no,
Of an author, yeah.
the funniest
can't think of
was the first time that we brought you out to Australia. And literally, so we're all excited, Chris Haueter, you know, and we organised this big dinner, and we're all on a long table. And Chris is at the head of the table, and I'm just sitting there watching him, and there's conversations going backwards and forwards. And I can see Chris. And I learned from it, Chris, you can't understand a word that anyone's saying, can you? He goes, it's I'll try my best Chris Haueter impression. It's English, but to me it just sounds like. I was like, oh, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
He also can't hear well. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a while ago. Maybe he could still
It
hear
was.
then.
No,
Because that was 2013, 14.
I definitely have lost lots of hearing. When I went into the Marines in MEPS where they have the hearing booth and they do the tests, me and this one other guy were in there last. They had me in there last. The old guy who'd been there for 25 years at the LA MEPS was shocked how good I could hear.
Oh,
That
really?
is no longer the case. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could hear those tiny little.
I went to the audiologist not too long ago because I have been having repeat ear infections and having hearing problems.
Oh.
And I went to an audiologist and I did like the full, like in the sound, like the
Yeah.
soundproof
Yeah.
booth and everything. And he said my actual eardrums like work perfectly and my hearing's like perfect. But he said that the cauliflower ear, mine's nowhere in the neighborhood as bad as yours, but my ears are messed up.
It inhibits the.
It screws up,
Acoustics.
yeah, like the way your ears work. Because these are like little sound catchers,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And they're like,
Oh.
the shape of your ear is like very specific to help you hear. And as soon as you change that, it screws up your hearing.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I've got
Yeah.
tinnitus and industrial deafness from working in the armory, so firing guns.
Yeah.
And just all the machinery and everything for years. And so now it's like,
Oh,
and
I
again,
hate
yeah.
that.
And back
Horrible.
in the old days, you weren't a tough and a man if you were ear protection or masks or eye protection.
Totally.
Like when I did construction, if you put on a mask and safety goggles, people were like, look at this fucking guy. Take the blade guard off of that saw.
Safety squint.
Yeah.
Safety squint.
Yep.
That's it, right? Yeah.
As you hammer each one, you blink. Tink, tink,
Safety
tink.
squint. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So was that a military job that you had for?
No, AFP. So Australian Federal Police. So law enforcement. So I was in there 11 years unsworn. So sworn being an actual police officer with policing powers. Unsworn being the entire support network that's in place for it. And so, yeah, so at the age of 19, I was in AFP, but on the support side of life. So even though I worked in operational areas, I never went sworn. And everyone always says, oh, you make an amazing police officer. It's like, no, I have my limits. And dealing with just absolute dead shits and just having repeat offenders, it just destroyed me.
Was this
eventually.
pre-martial arts for you? Or
No.
was this...
So I started Muay Thai when I was 13.
Okay.
And so this would have been 6 years in. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the AFP is basically the Australian FBI.
Yeah,
Kind
effectively.
of like a blend of FBI, ATF, and Homeland Security.
Yeah, so they work
national.
national and international,
Yeah.
as opposed to state jurisdiction.
Yeah.
What is the high-tech crime operations?
High-tech crime operations.
Yeah.
So that's the, probably has a new acronym because the acronym's always changing at the moment. But yeah, high-tech crime operations is the, so originally back when I was in there, that was your telecommunications intercept, data intercept, computer exploitation, all that kind of deal. Pretty much anything that information being captured from a target's mobile device, telecommunications, computer, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, any signals effectively. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the NSA.
Yeah, effectively.
And you
But obviously with heavy legislative restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't just tap anyone. It needs to be a serious crime.
You're not supposed to, right? Yeah.
what is that?
Oh, there's cameras.
What is that armorer job? So basically, you had a stretch of time where you're like firing weapons and testing weapons.
Yeah, effectively. So the AP has a fleet of firearms, and armorers are so not gunsmiths in the like American sense of the word. In Australia, there is no recognised trade for a gunsmith. So what we have is we have armorers, and the armorers are attached to military, law enforcement, that kind of deal, and they effectively just service and maintain the fleet of firearms, which may require some machining. So they generally look for like fitters and turners, engineers, that kind of deal. So if, custom pod needs to be done or modifications need to be done to the weapon within the realm of the manufacturer's tolerances, then we can do that. But yeah, effectively a lot of it now is kind of like cars. Not many parts are machined. It's all like click and replace.
Right.
Yeah, it's only for specific things. Investigations as well. So one of the jobs we got given was there was a crime in Canberra where two dudes had an argument. One brained another one, and it was a death. So he split the skull, and they were trying to get the markings off the body, and they couldn't figure out what it was. But then they found a mag light in a big torch in a drain, and they were like, "Oh, cool!" And they were trying to do the markings of it, but it didn't match, and it was because the neck has a certain tension on it at any time. So we had to figure out, okay, cool, how much tension is there on the spring? So we had to wire up this rig that would hold the ballistic head, and then they brained it, and now the marks match. So we could say that's the murder weapon.
Oh, that's interesting.
All that kind of deal. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. And is this the high-tech crime operations, or is this armorer
That was part of the
job?
armory. Yeah, so the armory was attached to forensics. Yeah, because it also doubled up as the firearms
Ballistics.
identification. Yeah,
Forensics and
yeah, correct.
And,
Yeah.
and then you left all that and then wanted to teach martial arts?
Yes. So I was already coaching at the time. So I started coaching and helping out coaching as anyone does. The instructor turns around and goes, "Cool, I've got these beginners. Could you please help run the beginners?" You're like, "Yep, sweet." And so I was doing that since about 2018, 19, so about the same time. Yeah. And then fast forward 2010. Yeah, 2010, decided, yep, cool, I've ticked over my 11 years. I've got long service leave. I want to try this full time. So I was attached to a gym at the time, Stockade Training Center, and they were super cool and went, yep, cool, we'll have you on. And ran it and went, yep, but my long-term goal is to open up my own gym. And then, 2013,
Because as
that
we
happened.
met, you had just left,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And but I remember one of the early discussions we had was the dilemma of trying to be a coach
Yep.
and or a competitor.
Aaron and I
Am
were
I going to
literally
fight?
discussing
Am I
that
going
on
to
the way
coach?
here.
How do we do them both? How being a coach can water down your competitive game. How when you're into the competitive game, it's hard to coach because you have to restructure how you train. It's a
Yeah,
dilemma.
absolutely. I've still got the audio capture
Oh yeah.
from when you ran the first workshop there and you gave the speech, and you referenced that, and I've still got the audio for that, and I listen to it every now and again. I show my guys, because it's a really good point. That it's I can't remember who you quote, but I'm not necessarily here to win or lose. The outcome is irrelevant. I'm just here to fight my best fight.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, can we swear on the podcast?
Yes.
Fantastic. Because at the end of the day, my opponent will never want to fight me again because I'm going to fight like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it's like, yep, sweet, cool. That's a great kind of way. Win, lose, or draw, leave it up to the gods if you believe in
Yep.
gods. But I'm going to fight like a motherfucker, and you'll never want to fight me again, win, lose, or draw. Yeah. And my guys kind of go, okay, cool. Let's go. Yeah.
That's the what I call the Zen samurai entrance,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Give all of yourself. Surrender to the void, which was what my art show title was during that time.
So
Gotta step in?
did you fight in Muay Thai a bunch?
Yes.
And so you started at 13, and did you go to Thailand?
Yeah, so I trained over in Thailand. So I first went over to Thailand when I was 15. Spent a couple of weeks over there. Amazing, like huge culture shock, obviously. And then went again when I was 19. Then again a couple of years later, and a couple of years later, and a couple of years later. Never for really long stints because either I had work or I had the gym to run. But yeah, so a lot of fun, like a whole lot of fun. And just
Such
seeing
good
the difference.
food and nice people.
Oh yeah, like some of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and just really beautiful culture
Yes,
as well.
I love
Yeah.
Thai culture so much.
Yeah,
I just
And-
feel like when you take the two things, like jiu-jitsu training versus Muay Thai training just looks like the gnarliest possible
yeah,
type of martial arts training that
Yeah.
you can do. And then the Muay Thai fighting also, to me, looks way gnarlier than like any MMA or anything.
I think
like
it
that.
looks
Yeah.
gnarly, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. The Thais have a much more. I hesitate to use the word aikido because obviously that creates fakeness there, but a much more flowing sense of Muay Thai rather than say the European or American, which is much more head battering
yes,
sense.
yeah, absolutely. So, and you know, there's especially now with ONE FC and their introduction of the 3-round format. So there's a whole aspect to Muay Thai, and whether you do like authentic Muay Thai, which is in Thailand, and everyone outside of Thailand is just trying to do their best impression of it effectively while honoring, you know, the honoring the Thai systems, Thai values, and all that kind of deal. But yeah, so I always kind of classify there's 3 types. So there's Muay Thai in Thailand, and that's the authentic Muay Thai. You've got like the Dutch style kickboxing, like the Western kickboxing, very combo heavy. And when you watch them train, they'll drill each other's body like 80% power, 20% to the head. And that's how they kind of get their longevity out of it. And then you have the Western Muay Thai. And the Western Muay Thai is what I would say we do. So we try to do our best at honoring, you know, the authentic, but it has to be tailored to the local market as well. So where a lot of the Muay Thai fighters who have had 200, 300 odd fights would lose when they initially came out to the Western market is they'd walk in, expect the 5-round format, and the guy would run out and punch them straight in the face. And they're like, wait, first round was supposed to like...
Right, because it's almost a warm up.
Measure and
Round
warm up.
1 is like
Well, you-
flow and measuring. Yeah.
Yeah, and realistically, you don't even score the first 2 rounds. Like realistically. And round 3 is like when it's on, and that's the kind of the deciding round out of everything. And then 4 if 3 is not obvious. And then 5, if it's really obvious that you're winning after round 3 and 4, we go back to round 1 again, because chances are we've got a fight next week, week after, just industry. And, the longevity of a fighter is number one. So I'm not going to try and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Obviously, if it's like a big title fight or that kind of deal, but the rest of the time, it's under this perpetual gentleman's agreement. That's like, cool, I'm not going to bruise and batter you beyond recognition because this is your well-being, this is your life. And they go, yep, sweet. And this is why this beautiful war of attrition kind of comes into it. And they stand in front of each other, stand and deliver. There's no real, I say ring craft and tactic, because they don't back off. It's, okay, you'll lose a fight just by backing off. You might be walking forward and I'm annihilating you. I'll lose the fight because I don't want to fight. I'm perceptively don't want to fight. So trying to juggle these, between guys that train 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, to 1 to 2 hours a week to a Western market, you need to change it. There are no gradings in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Full stop.
And there's people who certainly are trying to in the West.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We introduced a grading structure literally when we first started off, like Dark Carnival. We're like, cool, grading structure. Because the Western mindset is one that they go kind of like jiu-jitsu. Well, how do I know I'm getting good jiu-jitsu? It's like, oh, well, you can
They
kind of
need
tell.
that external gratification.
Yeah, exactly. I need the belt. I need so we use the, like phonetically Prajas, but Prajet is the, and don't even speak about Thai enunciation. 5 inflections. It's 5 different ways to say ma. But yeah, so trying to juggle the differences between keeping it honorable towards traditional Muay Thai and authentic Muay Thai to the Western markets, two very, very separate things.
So that band that they give,
Yep.
that's not a Thai thing?
No, it absolutely is. So it's an amulet, effectively. And, there's, depending whether you're north, south, and which human, etc. But it is a amulet and blessed by monks. And that is the only thing that you take from the external world into the ring with you. So what you'll see is that you'll have the project, and then you'll see like material tied on. And it might be a part of your mother's skirt that, and then you're carrying your family in there with you as well. Because one of the biggest things they do in Muay Thai is they seal the ring, and they're sealing the ring from external influence. So now it's just you and me, and that's it.
It's a spiritual thing.
Yeah, it's a spiritual thing. It's cool. There's no more. It's now you, me, and that's it. And then you got the Mongkong and the Mongkol. And again, fighters can have individual Mongkong, or it might be the gyms, and then you wear the gyms. But again, not that everyone's going to rock around and wear it. So we use the Prajas as a grading system. So we go called yellow, orange, blue, green, brown, black, first degree, second degree, third degree. And it's just all levels of competencies effectively.
But the leveling of the armband is like a Western thing.
It is not traditional. It is not. And there's now talk, because Muay Thai is starting to really gain traction outside of Thailand.
Yeah.
There's been really big discussions and forums and everything going, cool, we should follow the rest of martial arts and introduce a grading system. And what are they looking at doing? Singlets or Prajas? And the reason I'm a huge fan of Prajas is, should our guys ever jump in and compete, it's the same pair. We just tie on different material.
Yeah.
And so they have these Prajas that they've got since literally they did their first grading at the gym to 7 years later when they might have their first fight. And it's like, it's the same pair. And you can always tell the new ones because they're clean and white. And, the guys who have been there, it just gets darker as they go from the sweat and the grime and that kind of thing.
It's cool.
You never wash it?
No. They never touch the ground. So literally, if they're not hanging above your head, they'll be kept in a safe place. But no. So it's gross on that front. But
I would never wash my belt.
no, not do I. You lose your skill. You put in.
I don't know about all that.
You
I
put
was
it in a
just
black
told
belt,
we
and you pull out a
never
brown
wash
belt.
our belts.
Isn't that what you told me? No. Okay, cool.
If you have a high quality belt, you don't have to wash it. If you have a belt that has polyester synthetics in there, like the rash guard does, like you wear a rash guard a week and it stinks, right? Because it has hollow fibers which hold the bacteria, whereas good herringbone weave a cotton, they can't grow on it the way it can on.
You might want to fact check that.
That's true.
But also, in all fairness,
Bacteria can't grow on cotton.
Well, it can. but it can't grow the way it can within hollow synthetic
All right.
fibers.
But in all fairness, I tie my belt really poorly, so it pops off and I get lapels.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Yeah.
Tricky with the lapels. The hangman. I trained with this guy, and at the end, he like points at the belt. He's like, "Hangman." I'm like, "Oh, makes sense." Checks out.
Because I think in the late 80s, early 90s, Muay Thai was starting to gain in global popularity. And of course, this is pre-internet. And then the Jiu Jitsu came and kind of pushed it down. And then when MMA came, it brought it back. And I think it's like almost in its third wave now as a pure art, the way the Jiu Jitsu has a pure art wing of it rolling off. Yep.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is effectively what 1FC has done with the 3-round format. So, the 5-round format serves a purpose. Gambling is pretty much it. So you show a little bit of your wares. Round 1, people bet. And then if you want to double down and change your bet, then round 2, the bet more. And then round 3, the fight actually begins. So it's like, cool, show your wares. Everyone bet settled, right, and away we go. And so it serves a purpose. And because, again, it's industry, effectively. So if you are not from a family that can afford to send you to school, they send you to a Thai camp or Muay Thai camp. And, the Muay Thai camp looks after education. They pretty much feed and clothe you, all that kind of deal. You train, you fight, they send you to school. Some of the earnings goes to the gym, the rest of the earnings goes to the family. And then little Thai boy grows up, meets little Thai girl, they have kids, next generation's ready to go. And so it's this huge, whereas now you're getting to the point with like 1FC and operations like that, or promotions like that, where they can actually now make a living like really well and establish themselves. Right. And, so it's really good, but there's kind of like, hey, well, you're now messing with the culture. And so this is where a lot of the big pushback from the Thai, effectively the Thai government is going, whoa, hang on a second, this is really good that we're getting now this global, but also don't mess with our culture. So good and bad. But yeah, now the expansion into America is the expansion. Like Australia's got the biggest component of Muay Thai outside of Thailand. But now it's really starting in Europe and Germany and all this kind of deal. Yeah. Muay Thai is going much bigger because of the 3-round format now, which is action from the get-go. Yeah.
Almost sounds like a caste system or something, though, the way that works, where the, you can't afford to go to school, then you end up sort of in this fighter rung of society.
Yeah. Or a laborer rung, yeah.
Yeah, ish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the running joke is that, you train, you fight, you burn out, you become a tuk-tuk driver and a pad holder.
Oh.
And that's it. And that's like the running joke, because you rock up and you're in a tuk-tuk and they go, why are you here? And you go, Muay Thai. And they go, me, Muay Thai, 3-time champion, blah, blah, blah. And, and you hear that from 20 of them. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh, wow, like, this is actually a thing. Same deal, you chat to the monks. And they go, oh, no, I used to do Muay Thai. Yeah. It's like, oh, right.
You don't want to ever mug your driver.
No, and don't point your feet at Buddha. You'll have a lot of angry monks, and a lot of the monks are actually trained. Yeah. So, yeah, peaceful.
Well, Chris had a bit of a Muay Thai career.
A tiny bit.
But I'm just curious, because of what you're saying, sounds like that was a really long time ago, like early 80s?
That was 1984 or 5.
Right. So in 1984 or 5, what was the Muay Thai scene like in America?
Tiny.
Because you had like a pro fight.
Yes.
So that was something that was happening.
And I fought a guy from Cambodia who had come over. And I won the fight because I had a good boxing. But I wanted to go to Thailand and fight. And I got all pumped up and excited. I had a great coach. His name, I can't even pronounce his full name, but Lot was what we called him. He was a Muay Thai champion, Olympic bronze in boxing. I think he lost to Sugar Ray Leonard in one of the 70s Olympics. Great coach. And he died. So I was still training, and thanks to Paula Inosano, who talked me out of going over to Thailand and said, basically, they'll use you for the gambling. they'll throw you some wins, and then you'll get in a thing where you will get demolished and get hurt and get a brain damage. And it's like she basically shattered my illusion that I was really good, because like I'm good but not really good. And I remember too, I think it was Dan Inosanto who said that the money guys behind it, they look at the calves of the guys, and I don't have big huge calves. And
Opposite.
Yeah, opposite. Yeah, and the kids who have big calves, they're like, you have a chance in this, because walking on the balls of your feet for all day long, right, is really hard.
Yeah, skipping,
and
bouncing on the
hill
toes.
tribes in Thailand are the ones who they would largely recruit out of, because like Thailand has like people that immigrated there from China 2,000 years ago in the hills, then people that came 500 years ago, and people that came 100. And the urban crowd is much more what they call ethnically Chinese. It's like everywhere that there's their racial stratas and all that stuff. It's a fascinating culture.
But yeah, their legs are for real though. They're tree
their
trunk
legs are just tree trunks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
From
you
humping
look at their
up
front,
and down hills and jungles all day long.
and like
Yep.
you look at them front on, and they're not generally like big shoulders,
No.
big chest. Like they're generally like, okay, cool. And then you see their backs, and it's just this giant V. You're like, and it's just from the clinching and the locks.
Yeah.
And then you look at their legs, and you just go,
Yep.
it's like just chunk. It's like, yeah.
He might weigh 119 pounds, but he has the legs of a heavyweight.
Yeah. And you just hear their bones, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. And no matter how much you kick and how good, you have to exchange leg per leg shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why if you're going to put money on it and you have no other reference, you look at the legs.
Yeah.
So I think like one of the modern dilemmas for a lot of people that are interested in martial arts is that like, as we've just sort of described with Muay Thai, it seems like one of the foundational values of most martial arts is it requires like this complete immersion into the art in order to like experience the art completely.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, like myself included, get to this point where you start doing martial arts and you're like, well, I really love this thing. I like to do it a lot, but I also like my job and I also like my family.
real
And
life.
I don't want to like 1,000% commit to this thing, but I want to get at least some of it in my spirit and soul if I can. And from what I've looked into, you've really thought about this concept.
massively.
And you've like developed your school in such a way where you've created a culture and a program and a system that allows people to experience all these things and really grasp the essence of different martial arts that you teach at your school and live it in a way that allows you to train and have a regular life, which is so appealing to Americans and Australians, I presume.
Yeah, right.
And it'd be cool to hear about your way you think about your teaching and your school and stuff.
Yeah, so there are gyms in Canberra, and their coaches have gone and they've lived whether it be for 6 months, 6 years, like whatever it is, they've gone over to Thailand, they've lived and breathed and absorbed the culture, and they speak the language, and they've got all the training protocols in place because blah blah blah, and they're replicating that little bit of snapshot of Thailand in Canberra.
Yeah. Right.
And it's amazing. And you watch their fighters and you just go, wow, it's like really good fighters. And you like Canberra's a small place, and it's not even 3 degrees separation. It's 2. It's like, I know someone that you know directly. It's not even like, oh, you know this person, yeah, I know. And then, no, it's 2. And it's interesting because it kind of comes down to like what business model you want to run. And so for me, I look at if it's the Muay Thai, it's the fight model. And if it was Jiu Jitsu, it'd be the comp model. And so you've got the kind of top tier, which is your fighters. And it's the fighters that are on repeat and repeat. Underneath them, you'll get all the fighters in the wings. And these are the guys who are fighting beyond the team. And they might help and they might, they're the training bodies and the training partners. And fighters have a finite life, like lifespan as far as like shelf life, I should say. And then next thing you know, the next one's ready to go. Underneath that tier is the group of individuals that would love to one day be in it, but they just can't. And then whether they realize it or not, realize the position or not, that's kind of where it kind of plays out. And you've got this constantly refreshing cycle, but you don't really get people in the same gym for now 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. It's very rare. It's more like 4 years. And they've come in and they fight and they tick the box and they go, well, I've fought and I'm done. Yeah. Or they go, no, I really want to have a good run at this. I want to fight internationally. I want to get world accolades or that kind of deal. And they'll hang around for a couple of years and then they'll drop out. They might hang around as coaches, but at some point in time, they go, man, I need to make money.
Yep. And my shins hurt all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I remember from just constantly having sore shins.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's always cuts in your mouth.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. From when you're trying to explain something and they hit.
Yeah.
And like, thanks. Now I've got cuts in my mouth. Yeah. It's like, thank you.
Constant
and
sore shins and cuts in your mouth.
I never liked that because it means that individuals have to compete. They have to fight. And that is what Muay Thai is. It's a fighting art. And so that's where, full stop, I don't teach authentic Muay Thai then, because I don't force people to fight.
Otherwise, it's bag punching class.
Yeah, exactly right. Mm-hmm. And that's the equivalent is, oh, now we're doing pad fitness. People go, yeah, I do Muay Thai. And you go, cool, show me. And they're like, what? Yeah. It's like, shadow spar a minute. Shadow what now? And you get them, okay, hold pads. I've never held pads. Yeah. It's like, oh.
I think that's also in the samurai ethos that there's no point in training if you're not.
Yeah, correct.
If it's not for the fight, what are you doing? It's
exercising.
Like,
it's okay.
Yeah.
You can bag punch.
Back in the
Yeah.
days,
No,
If
you
people
absolutely
want to
can.
bag punch because
bag
that's how
punching's
they
cool.
enjoy
Yeah.
exercising their heart and their muscles, then I think that's really
If
great.
it's fun
I
and
did
fitness,
that when
absolutely.
I was pregnant.
And it's really
Totally.
healthy.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it's hitting pads and bags
And it feels
is
good.
cardio.
F you, push that bag.
Well, no, I think it's just good. It's interesting to note that that's samurai ethos during imperial Japan, however many hundreds of years ago, right? But we've lived a lot and experienced a lot, and we're more sophisticated human beings today than we were then, right? So now we've come up with a new way where you can train and enjoy and get some of the spirit without having to do the full. This is the whole point, right? Is that's
totally.
an old ethos. That's an antiquated way of thinking.
And even early the jiu-jitsu, there was definitely two distinct groups: the people who are going to take challenge fights and compete, and the people who are there just to learn the art.
Yeah.
Which is effectively why when we first met, and I was like, cool, I am totally stealing that think, street, train, sport, practice the art. Because I explained it, I can't even remember how I explained it now, because it's been overwritten, because that's way simpler and way more straightforward than the way that I explained it. And so I was like, oh, perfect. And if you go to my gym, it's everywhere. It's think, street, train, sport, practice art.
I want to talk about Mitch's gym for a second. Mitch's gym is so awesome.
It's the coolest.
I love your gym.
Yeah.
It's I'd have to say,
Cool.
hands down,
Rad.
it's so
It is
amazing.
the coolest.
2 levels, and well, of course, I'm going to think it's really cool because he has Chris's art all over the walls. And I think that, I'm really grateful that you did that, and it looks beautiful, and it has Chris's quotes, and I'm glad that resonated with you, but I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to go there.
Yeah, to see it in the flesh,
To see it. Yeah, it's super awesome.
Because you rock into a lot of gyms, and it's very sterile, which is great. It's clean, but no one lives there.
Yeah.
And it's like the difference between a house and a home.
It's got no soul.
Yeah, exactly. And so
your gym has soul.
Yeah. But, and that's because if I'm going to spend, up to 14 hours a day there, I want to feel like I'm at home. And so, everyone rocks in and goes, did you have this? Yeah, I had this plan years ago. And now I'm just realizing it as we go. Mm-hmm. So it's good. And as we get, graffiti artists will rock in. You're like, cool, I've got this idea. So did you see the back of the toilets?
I don't know if I
the
saw
toilet
them.
doors?
Oh, the graffiti?
Yeah, with the graffiti,
yeah,
and it's got the what's the old military thing? I want you for them.
Yes, the recruiting post.
Yeah, it's got the recruiting post. I want you to clean your shit. Mm-hmm. Because you wouldn't think you'd have to put that on a toilet door, but you do.
Oh yeah.
And the other one's got Freddy Krueger. It goes, you better be dreaming if you're not cleaning, that kind of thing. Nice. All that kind of thing. But yeah, there's heaps of graffiti up everywhere. But exactly you said, as far as the outside. So one thing that's upstairs and downstairs is life happens. Training is a constant. We'll always be here. And so what we understand is that people have lives, people work, people have families, people have relationships, they have injuries, they have all this kind of deal. It's like, man, don't stress, because one of the biggest things is people stress about going, oh man, I need to cancel my submission. Or can I postpone, or can I suspend for a bit? And it's like, yeah, dude, of course you can. Like, why can't you? Oh, because I feel really bad. Don't. Like, you got a life, man. You got a kid coming. You just had newborn. Man, I'm really sorry that your mum's sick. Of course, like, take the time off, dude. We'll always be here. We look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you back on the mats.
Yeah.
Is the key thing. And because again, transitioning that kind of like the old samurai and bushido ethos into modern day living, is the lessons learnt on the mats is just as applicable in life. And when you've got, you're bailed up in a corner against the ropes and you want to quit, and you go, I know this feeling. I want to quit because my boss is being mean to me, or, I can't seem to make a right move as a parent, or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
When you're being stuck under someone like Paul's side control, and you're there going, this is ridiculous, it's like, and you're like, hang on a second, I'm surviving. This is fine. It's like, yeah, I can survive. Oh wait, I can survive. Right. This adversity, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we are successful, is that we, we've got what in the gym, in the upstairs area, we've got what's called the war room. It's got a pool table. It's a boardroom.
The big table.
Pool table. But, and it has a big whiteboard, and that's where we literally sit there and plot our world domination. And at the top of it, it says, what is your business? What do you sell? And one of my clients and good friends put that to me. He goes, well, simple, man. What is your business? What do you sell? Do you even understand? And I'm like, that's going to require some thinking. And then that question, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, what is your business? What do you sell? And what is our business? Life and performance coaching. What do we sell? Experience. That is what we sell. And so we sell the experience, and you can get that experience in a private training session. You can get the experience in a general class, and it's two very different experiences. And we recommend everyone get both. And that experience they get is, man, if you're worried about something, we can bring adversity. We can take you to the dark place very quickly and very easily, but we'll also coach you out of it. We'll get you out of it. I've had this conversation with a couple of guys, because at Jerry's gym in Centerline,
Yeah.
and holding pads with them, and they just want to die. I'm going, dude, I'll give you 5 minutes at the end of this, and you'll be fine. Right now, you want to die, but in literally, the session's going to end at 2 p.m. I give you to 10 past 2, you'll be fine. And then you'll look back and go, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's like, yeah, but you didn't. And this is what is great, because that lesson then translates.
Yes.
So cool, I've got life pressure, I've got financial pressure, I've got this. I'll be fine. I'll be fine, because pressure makes diamonds, right?
Yeah.
That's the...
Okay.
Yeah, I've always appreciated too, like a long time ago, that your positive attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've had some great conversations as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what a lot of people don't have.
Right.
And they come in and, a lot of my clients laugh because they rock up to a session and I'm out the front at the cafe. And it's like, this dude, the session is whatever the session. We might start holding pads. We end up chatting. Mm-hmm. And because if not here, then where? Yeah. And if not now, then when? And if not me, then who? Yeah. So who else do you talk to? Oh, no one. Right, let's have it out, man. Let's make it tangible.
Carpe diem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And seize this moment, because, you've got this thing in your head that's intangible that you're terrified of. And you go, cool, let's bring this into the real world. And that's why I love doing, is the life and performance coaching aspect of it. Mm-hmm. It's just, we do martial arts. And so we make it real. Yeah. And me, myself, I've been there and I've sabotaged my own performances. I've sabotaged my own life. Mm-hmm. And this is going back to the coach conversation.
When you had to re-engineer your last fight, your mental preparation, you realized was more important than all of the knowledge. Although you must have that as well.
Yeah.
And you had to reset your head.
Totally. Because I didn't get out of second gear that fight.
Yep.
And, it was against one of the guys who's like Charlie Bubb, and he's like number 1 world rankings under several bodies. And he's now a big boy. But when I fought him, he was 16 and I was 30.
Oof, yep.
and he'd already had, I think, 21 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss at the age of 16 and Australian.
Wow.
Big boy, 6'3" at the time. And yeah, like phenomenal. And, you know, we were talking to each other in the fight. And I was like, man, I should be fighting this guy. Like, come on, man. I'd already cornered 5 of my fighters that night. So I'd already Jedi'd and cornered that.
Like, don't you have homework to do?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Shouldn't you be home?
And no, but like, you know, there was one bit where his leg went out of the ring. And he goes, oh, hang on a second, my leg. I was like, cool, man, just get back in. Yeah, cool, carry on. And there was another point. My arm got stuck in the rope. I went, just 1 second. And he slammed me. I can't remember with an elbow or a knee. And I was blinking. And he pulled back and I went, 1 second. Hang on. Doc, can you... And he shone the light. And as he shone the light, the vision came back, went, we're good. And then we fought and went the distance. And he won unanimous points. And I was like, man, I didn't give that my all. That was like in second gear. And I didn't do the honor to him.
Yes.
By fighting properly.
Give your best.
And everyone goes, oh, do you think you could have won? It's like, of course I think I could have won, but I think I can do amazing things. Prove it. It's like, yeah, and this is what I love. Let's make this tangible. And that's what I love about having the ability to fight. And as that, okay, you want to test it? Right, let's fight. Like jump in, competition. Like this isn't your peers now. This is now fighting. And like, cool, you talk a good game, but can you actually fight? Can you actually back it up and do it? And a lot of people don't want to commit to that, which again, cool, not a problem. Not a problem. But the opportunity's there and the option's there if you want to. And especially now jiu-jitsu. Why is jiu-jitsu so popular? Because you can tap.
Yep. You're not getting hit in the face.
Yeah.
It's a really good way
It's a great way.
to fight without getting hit in the face.
Totally.
Brain damage is a little bit more optional.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely right. But you grab the Thai training methodology that they train in Thailand and they play. They'll play bare knuckle, bare shin pad, they barely touch the head. And they'll play. And it's like this is what we lose is because we think, it has to be 100%. It's like, no. Like dial it right back. You don't have to win. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are the different classes that you guys do?
So predominantly Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and that's gi no gi, which should be submission grappling, I reckon. Anyway, and then we run an MMA class, but the MMA class is do Muay Thai, do Jiu Jitsu. Here's where we blend it. So we don't run a specific MMA program. It's like one class a week. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
He's blend them. We have a self-preservation program, but we stopped running it because for 2 main reasons. One is, again, talking about that challenge is the individuals that would do the self-preservation program would never do Muay Thai or Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
And so they're going, I'm selling you a false
They're
thing.
missing the whole thing because
Yeah.
they're training street.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
thinking street.
Exactly, but they're not
training
really
street.
training
Yep,
straight
They're not really training.
because they're never really testing it. And this, again, coming back to Jerry's whole thing, what is your test? And I just steal that left, right, and center. I borrow it, I should say. And then we do red zone threat management. And the red zone threat management, again, we used to run a class of it or like set workshops. But week 1, you'd have 10 people. Week 2, you'd have 4.
I see.
And then week 3, you'd have 6.
Yep.
Because the ones that have dropped off and, go back and give it another go. They realize how freaking hard it is and they drop off again. It's like, that's right. Because it is literally like getting a random person off the street and going, cool, here, gloves, helmet, excellent, let's go. And people go, no, but I want to learn how to defend myself. It's like, yeah. This is what we're
You
doing,
kind of
right?
got to train the sport if you want to learn to defend
Bingo.
yourself.
That's exactly it, right? Whereas they want to effectively train the art,
Yes.
practice the art, and think it's street.
Exactly.
And it's like, no.
Wait, so you'd still do the red zone threat management?
Yeah, 100%. We still do red
What
zone threat
exactly
management.
is that? I don't know anything about.
So red zone threat management was created by Jerry Wetzel, who's my brother from another mother. I'm fortunate to have met Chris through Jerry as well, and his entire crew, which is awesome. So so Jerry is an old GKD dude, so Jeet Kune Do, Kali, and all that kind of deal. And the system that he thought worked didn't work. So then he went, okay, cool. Well, I do these other things that work. Let's now make this self-preservation system that works. And so Red Zone Threat Management was formed. And it is really easy, simple to teach, simple to execute. And effectively it grabs all of the jiu-jitsu mindset of funneling the decision-making processes into known variables. So it goes, cool, I don't always get to choose who's going to assault me. But as soon as the assault is on, I'm either out or in. And then if I'm in, I'm going to funnel that decision-making process into 3 known variables. I'm either going to run them over, I'm going to snap them down, I'm going to take their back. And so it's constantly going ding, 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 ding. So it's not a fight. And it's not Krav Maga where this equals this and this. And where I find Krav Maga falls over is that it doesn't have a delivery method.
It doesn't have a delivery system.
And it requires you to death.
But it's an excellent polishing art if you're a jiu-jitsu.
Oh, absolutely. And you watch Fight World, which was, what's his name? Grimes. It was on Netflix. Frank Grillo. And he goes over and he literally trains with Bas Rutten's Israeli cousin. Literally identical to Bas Rutten except Krav Maga. And he says it the best. He goes, you come from a, Muay Thai background. When you kick, you hear, ooh. When I kick, you hear God. That's the difference. I train so I can go home to my daughter. I train so I can go home to my family. And you go, that's the difference. You're not there to defend yourself. You have higher ideals. You're not there to win. You are there to go home. And, that makes perfect sense. Whereas the Krav Maga gets watered down and now becomes a self-defense system that people go, I can out-defend myself. It's like, cool, man. I'll lie on my back. You pin me down. Or I'll pin you down and try to escape. And they can't. And you go, okay, cool. How about just stand up fight? Can't. So, okay, now it's this system of, the joke is groin strikes and all that kind of deal. But it's like, Yeah. So getting back to Red Zone, so slightly off tangent. Simple, sharp and effective. And it can be replicated very easily. And because now it's 16, no longer. I think it's almost coming up 19, 20 years. We've refined it. And because it's pressure tested, it's constantly pressure tested. Yeah. And if anything comes back to us going, hey guys, we did this, but it didn't work. And it's like, cool, show us the CCTV footage, show us the body cam footage, show us whatever it is. And you can see one of two things. Either they're trying to replicate it in training without the appropriate energy. So it's like this kind of flowy, it's like, no, that's not how it works. It either needs to be, you wouldn't use it in a fight. You'd use it to defend yourself.
That's why you gotta have the laboratory.
Yeah, correct, right? And so
Western science.
Yeah.
Even if it's a fact, you got to do the experiment yourself. You got to take the acid and the base and mix them and see if you have a salt. You can't just learn it from a book.
And then can it be reproduced? And it's simple and effective. So it breaks down to 4 main components. Red Zone Prime, empty hand combatives. So if Chris was just to jump up and start assaulting me, that kind of scenario. Red Zone Knife, so edged weapon defense, and that means knife, bottle, whatever it is, something I'm trying to pierce you with or slash you with.
Sharp objects.
Sharp objects. Adaptive striking. And so that is the glue that kind of holds everything together when those first 2 go wrong. But it now deals with all the kind of the grabs and the holds, and if they do this and if they do that, then here are the kind of specifics of it. Curveball, you forget to maintain pressure and they disengage. What do you do? Here's how you reattach. And that's all under the adaptive striking program. And then you've got the ground fighting overview, which is effectively you are now grounded, either on top or on bottom. How do you survive and how do you either end it or get back to your feet to be able to get out and effect escape? And it's very simple. And the way that we always kind of explain to people is, do you know much about apps, like writing apps?
No.
Exactly, but you use apps all the time.
That's right, yeah.
Red Zone, the training of it is writing the app. And then when it's go time, bink, you just hit the go button and you go. There's no real troubleshooting on the fly because you should be funneling that decision-making process into very known variables. I don't give you time to troubleshoot.
It's a highly effective arrest and control program for LE military.
Yeah, exactly. So mainly geared towards law enforcement, but works really well for self-preservation. But again, the difference being, and across the board, doesn't matter whether you're talking for civilian use of it or law enforcement, military, you need to do the other things. So when you talk about the iceberg principle, red zone threat management's at the top. Underneath it is boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, wrestling, strength and conditioning, rehab, prehab, diet, nutrition, underneath. And it depends on how deep you want to go as to how well you'll be able to actually properly defend yourself.
Is there a class, like a pretty heavy classroom component to those classes? Because it kind of sounds like there's a lot of philosophy that someone has to like absorb in order to be able to understand what it is.
So it would be, so there is, so Jerry's got 2 books, Red Zone Prime, Red Zone Knife. Highly recommend them as well. Shameless plug. And you can get them at redzonethreatmanagement.com. And yeah, so the training philosophy is all there, effectively. The flow charts are there, and they're great to remind you. But effectively in your head, you go, okay, once I understand conceptually what we're doing here, and that's kind of why I don't run a self-preservation class anymore, is because people go, okay, cool, so I can just do this, and they'll drop. And you go, that's kind of like, you know, when the red mist descends, bodies just start hitting the floor, man.
Yeah.
So it's not how it works.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know.
That was someone sent in a question to the podcast the other day that we answered, and they were asking basically like if they can just take Gracie Jiu Jitsu and that's like enough for them to be like ready for self-defense stuff. And the answer is kind of like, well, you kind of got to like do a bunch of different things to like prepare yourself for self-defense.
And I
It's
would
not
even
like,
say like that opens up that a can of worms. Is what is Gracie with Jiu-Jitsu?
right. That
Is,
was what
are
you
we
were saying.
talking about Hickson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu? Are we talking about what Henner and Huron do? Are we talking about Baja Gracie?
Yeah,
Well,
but
the layperson just says Gracie Jiu Jitsu because of branding. So
Yeah,
that's
just-
my answer. It's a brand.
It's a
but
brand.
my point was just that like you can't go, I want to prepare myself for self-defense. I'll just go buy this one droplet and drop it in my eye, and now I'm ready to go. And I
Yeah,
can
correct.
Like there's this whole like system that you kind of got to like get your body prepared. You got to get your mind prepared. You got to have some skills and techniques. It's like you got to do all this stuff. You can't just go get one thing and you're offering all those.
I
No,
always-
exactly right. Yeah.
But kind of think, so let's say playing a tennis is the equivalent of learning how to defend yourself, right? And you say, God, I got to learn how to play tennis, i.e. I got to learn to defend myself. Could you take a weekend class and say, now I know how to play tennis? Right. It's
Yeah,
one
no.
of those
Tennis is
things
hard.
that,
Tennis is hard.
yes.
Tennis is very hard. And
So-
what we do is hard also.
Yeah. And
So
so
what-
I think it's kind of one of those things we sell that you can come in here and we're going to teach you in a weekend how to play tennis.
Yeah.
And then once we get you, we're like, oh, it's going to take a month.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, this takes years. It's a lifetime practice. I can only get a little better. And yeah, it becomes a way
like,
of life.
A thing that I think about, you know, because I had these ladies that were interested in learning self-preservation, right? And I explained that I think you could go to a weekend class, you can learn some things. Are you going to be able to deploy it if you need to? I don't know, because you didn't practice, right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to cultivate like a group where they could come in and practice, but they don't necessarily want to sweat with men all over them and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's another way to help them that might give them a fighting chance if they did have to use it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we have, that's a really good point, because if you don't train it, so many years ago, where the old gym actually was. So in Woden, and there's Woden Town Square, and we had bus interchange downstairs, we had government services right next door, and we had drug and alcohol rehabilitation upstairs. So you combine those 3 things, you get some interesting people cruising past your gym. Yeah. And of course, it's late, it's dark, they hear loud music, and they come in, and, yeah, mate, how you going? Oh, you know, it's like, hey, man, you can't be here. And I'm like, no, I just want to learn how to defend myself. And you think, I'm like, oh, please leave, you're disrupting my class. And, you know, and they're full of war stories. I don't know if you can see this scar, but I got stabbed with a machete. And you're like, you got stabbed with a machete, not, okay.
And of course, if I'm there, I can't even understand what they're saying.
Yeah, correct, right, yeah. That would be the bit with subtitles in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so, yeah. And so, so my girlfriend at the time, she'd ridden in and she'd parked her bike, and it was 9 p.m. at night, and we're finishing up, And we said, oh, we'll walk you to your bike. And she goes, no, it's okay. I've got the helmet. And one of the guys who I was working with at the time, Alex, great point. He goes, have you ever hit someone with a helmet? And she goes, no. And I was like, have you ever even hit a heavy bag? Have you even done reps on a heavy bag with a helmet? Have you ever swung that thing? And she goes, no. And he goes, right. So you're going to defend yourself with a thing you've never, like in theory, makes perfect sense. I'll just hit him with this. It's like, cool. Have you ever done it? It's like, no.
I've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, bingo, right? And this is where it goes to a lot of the time. And this is unfortunately where, you run the 2-hour workshop. And this is where, for me, it felt like I was doing a disservice.
Yeah.
Is because people walk away going, oh, no, man, I've already done the workshop. It's like, do it again and again. That's why we do a 10-week course. It's like, I know how to defend myself. Now it's like, you really don't. You really don't. So I've got the great question as to how do you kind of get people in. Soft entries is the way. So where you have, where the way we format our kids classes, we have kids BJJ, we have Muay Thai, and we have a thing called DC Kids. And so Dark Carnival Kids. And the DC Kids is a really toned down version of Red Zone. Really toned down. But effectively they spend the 10-week term. Term 1, we do Jiu Jitsu, but self-preservation. Term 2, we do street boxing, effectively. Term 3, we do, so effectively ground fighting overview, adaptive striking. Term 3.
Black one right there.
Sorry.
To
Liquid death.
Go for it, liquid death.
I was like listening to you talk, and then my mouth was like watering. I was like looking at the thing. I'm like, oh.
Everything went into slow motion, shimmered. And then term 4, we do kicks. So term 3 is lock, strikes, holds, and grabs. Term 4, we do kicks. And we start at ages 4 and 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 15. And what it is what we refer to as a soft entry. So it's all geared towards anti-bullying. If kids have to defend themselves at school, we are going to give them that experience of like wearing a punch, of being kicked, of that kind of deal. So should they be at school and they get punched, it's not their first time. With the hope that when they turn 9 and they go, oh, I really enjoyed that, the groundwork, do jiu-jitsu, learn more about it. Oh, I really enjoyed the punching, cool, do Muay Thai, do more. Rather than continuing this onwards progression. The funny thing is that we've now got kids who've done the DC Kids program for like 6 years, 7 years. And man, if you sharpened up their skills, like they're good.
Ready to go.
Because they're aggressive as. So because they've got that fight mentality about them, whereas we've had the Muay Thai kids come in and spar them and they'll school them. But the Thai kids like, hey, whoa, watch contact. Because the DC kids are like, same deal with jiu-jitsu. They're going for the kill. It's like, okay, right. So it does serve a purpose after 6 years.
Yeah.
But not for a weekend and not for 1 week and not for like 5 hours kind of deal. And so anytime you run a workshop, it's like, can I interest you?
Right.
Yeah. Come on. And then, unfortunately, a lot of people tick that box and I can now defend myself. It's like, no, you can't. Please. And I've got a larger, audacious project called the Paragon Project, which I want to try and get up and running, which is, trying to maximize on this primarily for law enforcement, first of all, because when you've got a vest full of hammers, everything looks like a nail. But if you don't have those and the escalation protocols aren't in place, now you've got failed to prosecute, you've got excessive use of force, you have liabilities, you have all this kind of deal. Whereas if you have a competently violent and trained police force, and I mean competently violent as in they are comfortably violent. When someone hits them, they don't go and draw straight away because, I thought my life was at threat. It's like, no, he just punched you. Oh, he assaulted a police officer. Yeah, totally did. Detain him. But if you draw a gun on someone and you wonder why they're now fearing for their life, that's because there's only one place to go from here, which is bang. And it's like, cool. So let's make you confidently and competently violent so that when you go out there, it's literally like when your kids get angry. It's like, it's okay, mate. Calm down. Shh, it's okay. It's okay. Because most people, when they're drunk and ridiculous and inebriated and whatever, don't get me wrong, angel dust, PCP, ice, meth, you get superhuman strength. But, there's still a point where you should be able to physically detain and control them. If not one person, then two. And you should always be two up, right? Or sorry, one up, I should say. But yeah, so this program that I want to try and get in, and
it's also important to have good verbal skills, right?
Yes, verbal jiu-jitsu.
One little thing I had way back when I was a cop 20 years ago, of course, this is when there aren't lit jiu-jitsu guys who are cops yet, and there's like, I'm in my program of training, they want me to get in a fight. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get in a fight. But there was a guy, he had a parole hold, so he had to go back to the joint, and he was a white dude who was an 18th Street gangster who in the joint had a green light on him, so he couldn't go back in the green joint, and he was known as a guy who fights cops and grabs guns, and they had him detained, and he wasn't bright, and he didn't know yet that we were going to put cuffs on him and bring him into jail. So they got me over there so I could put cuffs on because they wanted to see a fight. And this dude was huge. He was jacked. He was fresh out of the joint, 18 on his neck. And I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to fight this guy so bad. And I talked him into handcuffs. Nice. I said, we're just going to bring you in because we got a bad picture. We got this new computer system, live scan and all that. We just need your picture. And he's like, no, you're taking me back to county. I can't go to county. There's a green light on me, Holmes. I can't go. And I'm like thinking he's going to grab my gun, right? All that. And I'm like, no, we just need your picture. And all the cops were so mad that I talked him into cuffs.
So yeah, it's the exact same thing.
And
so,
maybe had I been 10 years earlier, I'd have been, oh, good, I get to get in a fight,
yeah.
right?
But no, those
with all my backups, so I can't lose. I can only win. And if
yeah, totally right. And then taser. Yep. So one of the old boys, Sam Robinson, and you know he was an old Northern Territory. So Northern Territory of Australia is like rough.
Hell's Angels, or is that?
It could be any of them now. We've got all vying
you guys have
for
a bunch of
interest.
different.
Yeah, used to be one, now it's 7.
Even just looking at the map, I was looking at the map, looking at where your school was.
Yeah, down
and
here
then I was
somewhere.
just like, whoa.
The Northern Territory, like the outback.
Yes. So between Western Australia and Northern Territory, and then you've got Central. So that is the outback.
Where the crocodiles are.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy, but
Mad Max territory.
Yeah, it is effectively Mad Max territory. And so he's an old Northern Territory copper. And, you know, I met him at the time. He was one of the tactical response guys. And, you know, just big, lovely gentleman, gray hair, very, like, sharp-looking dude. And he'd just go, Mitch, when I was coming through the college, we did 2 things. We did boxing and we did wrestling. And that is all you need to do. Because when you're you know, in the outback and you've got a warrant to detain someone and you walk up to them and go, you're coming with me. And they go, okay. Because they know you'll fight. Yep. They know they'll probably lose. And if they run, you'll chase them.
Yep.
He goes, Mitch, that doesn't happen anymore. Because now you get them,
the rules have changed.
Because they're not confident or comfortable to get into this altercation if the person says no. And so then they're immediately looking for, and then if you slap it out now, the thing that I used, it's like, yeah, good work. And so that was really eye-opening for me. And I was like, oh, man, this is true. Because, yeah, generally if you've got like someone's shotgun, you know, or like a long arm pointed at you, and they go, get on the ground. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. Slap it out of the way and go, shoot me. Death by cop, let's go. And it's like, are you willing to pull the trigger and what comes next? And if you don't have that point of intimidation, it comes down to fear or respect.
And that's that whole aspect that every cop knows and learns. If you're going to pull a gun, it's only because you are willing to use it. Otherwise, you don't pull a gun. It's never a bluff. Like, don't move, stop. Oh, he ran, put the gun away. Yep. Like, that's not how it works.
Totally.
If you pull a gun, you should have the legal right to pull a trigger.
And yeah, it comes down to fear or respect.
Yeah. I've had guns pulled on me before.
By cops?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Scary.
Like, why do they need to do that? They wanted to shoot me because we were driving down the street?
No, that's because when you were pulled over, they couldn't see who was hiding in the back seat holding an AK.
Okay. All right.
That's a whole other interaction.
Yeah, totally, right? But no, so but fear of respect. And the fear isn't fear of the individual, it's respect of the individual and
Yes.
fearing of the outcome.
Yes.
And so this is what I enjoy.
And respect of the law, which leads us into a whole philosophical conversation that we won't go down.
But this is part of the Paragon Project, right?
Yep.
Is that if you have these paragons of society, of the good police officer, and you used to be that point in time when if you had a police officer on your block, on your street, you'd be like, oh, sweet, we're good. And, you know, that's that. And you'd see them and they would, you know, they would be good humans. Whereas now it's a job. And it's none of them, I'm not on duty, man. Like, you know, let's drink, let's smoke, let's whatever.
Well, yeah, if you go back just even 200 years ago, there was, before the professionalization of law enforcement, a town would elect a sheriff, and when he needed extra help, it would be the town's people who would be a posse, right? And you didn't have prisons. So in order to punish and handle society, it was the English that created the first prison. And they began to professionalize it and would wear a copper piece of badge, hence the term copper. And like some people say, the worst thing we ever did was professionalize LE, because then that makes the cops no longer part of the community.
Correct.
And then they try to reintroduce the community a policing model to, you know, have LAPD also run the after-school program, because it's better when cops are part of the community rather than an occupying army.
Yes.
And that goes into the whole philosophy of society control. Hobbes, the Leviathan, Adam Smith, but yeah.
Yeah, but it is community policing, effectively. And you want that, because it's no different to, you know, the original like family structure or the school structure. And we run martial arts gyms. We are that, like...
That's the community
yeah, correct.
piece. Yeah.
And when they are in doubt, they go to you. They go to you. Oh, Melissa, I'm having trouble. You know, could you talk to me about this? Like, yeah, that should be the role of this. They should be a worldly, you know, kind of individual, but they should also be congruent. They should be able to practice what they preach, and they should follow the laws, and they should be an exemplary of the laws. And including that, as part of that, should be the physicality and the ability to enforce it, not by threat, but just by sheer you should fear the outcome should you break the law.
Yes. And each side has its opposing argument. Like, I always firmly believe that one should be able to articulate the other side's argument, even if you don't believe it, right? And when you have a community or subculture that believes that the law enforcement isn't following the law themselves, you have a breakdown. And when you have the law enforcement culture believe that they're not respected, you have a breakdown. And all these things that obviously have been happening for the last X amount of years in the US, it's like, if you really look at, each side has a very valid argument. And if you don't look at the other side, you're never going to solve the problem, from my perspective. But anyhow, throw in my philosophy.
I love it.
Always.
That's what we're here for.
Yep. You wouldn't
Literally,
be a commodity
we do
without
this
it.
for hours when he visits.
I know.
We
It's
just
awesome.
sit and drive and we chat.
I know, it's the best. Tell us about the name of your school, Dark Carnival.
Dark
Where did that
Carnival.
come from?
Yeah. What is it?
Oh, it's the
The
funniest
Dark
thing.
Carnival.
When I went to register the business originally, the lawyer that was doing that, he said that is the worst name for a gym, and I'm like, no, man, it's what I want. And he's like, no, it should be something else.
Something light and fluffy.
Well, I would never send my kids to a place called Dark Carnival, and now I'm like, I've got a huge kids program. It's amazing. But yeah, so we originally registered Canberra Muay Thai, trading as Dark Carnival, and I went, no, screw it, change it. Let's now officially register as Dark Carnival. So the many years ago, I read Ray Bradbury, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and I loved the concept of the Dark Carnival. And so this carnival, it travels around, and it's a carnival of morality. So it challenges the individuals. So it attracts people with the lights and the, you know, the glamour and the experience, and oh, you can have fun here and etc. And you get there and it's actually really dark, and you get tested, and if you succeed, then you leave the carnival exactly what you wanted out of it. That was amazing. It was, you know, that was the best. It was fun. I'd go again, and you recommend it to other people. If you fail, you become part of it, and you get absorbed into it and all that kind of deal. And so I love this concept of, oh man, it's carnival morality. And like, you know, if you approach things with like hatred or, you know, jealousy or this kind of thing, then you'll have bad outcomes. It's like, sick. I like these virtues. Like, this is cool. And so that always stuck with me. Then there was another book called Shadow Show. And it was like Shadow Show or Shadow Play. I cannot remember the author's name. But they told a story about again, traveling circus, but it had a clown attached to it. And everywhere the circus would go, there'd be deaths and there'd be missing children and all this kind of deal. And it was a clown.
That's creepy shit.
And yeah, it was very creepy shit. And it scared the hell out of me. And especially because I watched It around the
scares
same
me
time.
now.
Yeah. And,
Clowns.
and you know, because everyone would fight the clown, they'd see the clown as an enemy. And all you had to do was show the clown love or compassion, and then it would disappear.
But that's the way the sneaky pedo sucks you in.
Correct.
I just need love and passion.
Yep.
Compassion, right?
Yep. And so obviously identifying a threat is one thing, huge. But yeah, and so again, it was running on that Dark Carnival kind of ethos of, you know, it would try to trigger your fear, and then it would zero in on your fear, and then you'd respond in an angry manner, and you would identify it as a threat when it would never actually do anything. But at the point where you attacked it, it would attack you. And so it's like, oh, this is great.
awesome.
I really
That's
like this.
interesting.
This is cool.
Yeah.
And then years later, as a young teen, I got into Insane Clown Posse. ICP.
Oh, ICP.
Yep,
ICP.
ICP, that's it.
Yeah, the
And-
case go all the way to the Supreme Court. But yeah.
Yeah, and of course, yeah. And of course, they ran with the whole ethos of the Dark Carnival. And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, this is just music about all this thing that I've grown up loving. Like, this is great. And
You
know-
go into a clownology. I don't know what it's actually called, but going back to the court, Jester,
Yeah.
who is the only guy who could sophisticatedly mock and challenge
Yes.
the monarch,
yes,
right? Because he would have to clown him and make it entertainment. Because if he was serious, like, "But King, you're really fucking up," off with his head. But you're like, "Ah, King, you're fucking up," in a clowny way.
yeah.
He could
And
pull
the
it
entire
off,
time
right?
going nudge, nudge, wink, wink, fix
Yeah.
this. Yeah. And it's like, it's right, really cool. And so the whole ethos of the Dark Carnival and that kind of deal was like, oh, this is rad. Dark Carnival. Because, and you've seen my gym, the outside is black. It's big black panels, Dark Carnival. It's got the diamonds. All of my logos are dark. The kids are dark. Like, they look sick. It's wicked. You know, it's rad.
Isn't it like in an old postal building or something like that? I think there's like some old lettering above your gym. It's like some sort of...
No, that was the so no, where so it depends on which one you're looking at. We were next door to a post office, but the old photos that were on the website were just when we had the bottom level before we took over up top. So it was all the windows and everything, and then up top it had some old business line that had been
old
chipped
business
away.
that had been chipped
Yeah,
away.
exactly
Yeah,
it.
I saw that.
Whereas now it's all us, and
cool.
you know, Dark Carnival, you know, and we're in the building number is 69, so of course it's a big 69 because that's hilarious, and and yeah, it's dark and it's black, but that's the first test. Is cool. We don't look inviting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
We don't
You
look
got to
inviting.
overcome your first fear test.
Yeah.
And you
Just to
walk in,
step in the
Definitely
door.
cool.
and you walk in, and we are some of the nicest people you'll meet.
Yeah. It's
And again, incredibly capably violent. And we'll switch if we need to, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
And people go, oh yeah, but you know, it's like, dude, I'm not here to tell war stories or, you know,
And one
That
could
kind of
say
thing.
that that's why America rules the world, because we rule the seas and we rule the air. And the reason why you can get your shit shipped but cheaply is because the American Navy stops piracy. And if we retract from the world, that's what's going to come in. Who's going to fill the vacuum? And
Effectively.
as
Team
much
America World Police.
Yep, we are Team America World
Yeah.
Police with our
Send the signal, send the
allies.
signal.
Especially, I'll throw a plug to the Five Eyes in the Sky, which is Australia, Canada, New Zealand, America, and England. That is the original pact. The pact that beat the Nazis, the pact that beat the communists. I am all for it. Call me a Xeno, whatever, Anglophile, or whatever it is. Western enthusiast. I don't know what the term is.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
The Five Eyes.
So
in
yeah,
the
so
Sky.
that was Dark Carnival. Yeah, it's again going back to Ray Bradbury's. Come and learn something wicked and have fun doing it.
Nice.
Effectively, yeah.
Nice. All right, let's move on to some questions. We've been asking people on the internet to write in questions
Yep.
to our podcast, and we've gotten a bunch of awesome questions. So if
Sick.
anybody has more questions, podcast@combatbase.com is the email.
Even rude comments.
Even rude comments.
Rude
I kind of
questions.
like the rude ones more.
Engagement.
You know what's been interesting is I respond to the YouTube comments, and sometimes I'll read them and I'll be like, oh, this feels really rude. But then I like sit down and think about like the best possible way to like respond in a neutral way. And then I'll respond in a neutral way, and then it turns into like a positive thing. Then like they'll respond again.
Right.
I'm like, oh, they did,
Yeah.
you know.
They like
Or-
like it. They were just commenting.
But I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, is it
if you want to
or
play
is
the
it them,
algorithms?
you know?
So one of my guys, Dan, he you met Dan. Oh, you both met Dan. So he started a brand called Aussie Jiu Jitsu, and it's just like it's funny merch and all this kind of deal, and it's a lot of shit posting effectively. But he got a video from about 5-6 years ago where I was draining his cauliflower ear, and he put it in reverse, and That's
funny.
And
Like
he
you're
goes,
pumping it up?
Pumping his
me
ear.
getting my cauliflower ear after I got my purple belt.
Yeah.
We've done really well, like, ideas scripted. We've filmed it. We've edited. We've done awesome videos. Maybe 12, 14,000 views, 1.9 million for this shitty Steadicam of Dan go.
That's hilarious.
And people are like, oh, you idiot. Oh, you think you're hard.
Yeah.
And of course, he
They believe it,
he
yeah.
responds back going, well, unless, and he'll respond in like a baiting way.
As
And-
if he did it, yeah.
Yeah. And then you got the people going, dude, it's obviously in reverse, and goes, thank you. Like thank you. Like, obviously. But it's like, oh my God. 1.9 million views.
That's great.
And like, I think it's up to like 116 comments. And you're like, oh.
That's
Nice.
hilarious.
Well, all right. So we got this question that just came in. I felt like this was kind of funny because at the beginning of the last episode, we were calling Chris a legend. And I felt like it made him slightly uncomfortable. And we were joking around about what to call you at the beginning. And then I got an email, and it goes, the email starts like this: "You're a legend, Professor." That's the first sentence.
Ooh.
As I just started my own school, what is the biggest advice you would give on how to grow your school in the early stages? Respectfully, PJ Montano.
Thanks, PJ.
Yeah, PJ.
Thanks, PJ. Well,
Right
I
on
would
cue.
say obviously I don't have a school, but I've had the luxury, I guess, of traveling to so many different schools over the last 20 years. Sometimes I go to 3 different schools a month, and I often say most of the time I can walk in and know instantly whether this school is successful or not, whether it's going to be successful or not. There's a feeling. People say, well, what is it? And it's like, what are the ingredients? It just like the combat-based philosophy, it's not one answer. It's a trifold. It's leadership and coaching. That's like one part. Like you have to have a certain personality in order to have a good school. You can have the perfect facility in the perfect location, but if you're not a good instructor or people person, whatever it is, you're not going to make it. You could be the perfect people person and all that stuff, but if you're not in the right location and area, that won't work, right? But so, the biggest thing is be humble and be willing to adapt to change, because there's going to be constant change. There's going to be people who you think are going to be your most loyal guys who are going to leave you. There'll be other people that your first reaction on them is, oh God, I don't like this guy. And you're going to find that they're great students. So be adaptable is like the key. Successful schools are adaptable. They adapt with changes. They adapt with changes in trend, changes in clientele, changes in your own life. And what you got to do is show up. And the schools where the figurehead could have, should have, would have been great doesn't show up. And people get the sixth sense of if their leader is showing up or not. So you have to show up.
What would you add to that, Mitch?
What would you add to
Since
that,
you
Mitch?
have a successful
Yeah.
school.
Yes.
This is like a great question for
It
this
is.
It is.
situation.
It is. So my advice is be congruent. So do what you do and do it well. What a lot of people where they get into trouble, especially with business, is that with martial arts in particular, is so we started off with 5 programs, and now we literally do 2. It's the other ones are sitting in the wings, and we always have them. It's just that I cannot implement them.
They try too much.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
And they try to be the one-stop shop for everything.
Yes.
So if you're a self-preservation place, you're a self-preservation place. If you're a Taekwondo place, you're a Taekwondo place. We do Taekwondo and MMA. It's like, cool, which one?
Yeah.
Because either you'll have division in-house between the guys that do Taekwondo or they do MMA.
Because otherwise it either becomes or it feels inauthentic.
Yes, correct. And there are gyms in Canberra who train way better fight teams. We're not a fight gym. We train really good fighters. We're not a fight gym. So if you want to be a fighter and reach top echelon, man, I can recommend you. I can even put you in contact with the people. If you really want to dive deep into BJJ and like live and breathe it, man, I can hook you up with coach instructors. Like
Sports school, you'll be going to all the IBJJF competitions.
Exactly, right? If you really want to wear the white gi and bow before you even get on the mats, I can hook you up with those, and they're really good schools. I've got no qualms with them whatsoever. They're good, cool, great instruction. But for me, what I do, again, is life and performance coaching. And that is what I do. I'm more interested in the people. So that is where my market is. So when we get people coming in, they go, okay, cool, man, why do you want to learn Muay Thai? And they go, oh, fun and fitness. You go, okay, fun and fitness, no worries. 3 weeks later, hey, so now they've built up a bit of rapport, why are you here? And they go, oh, well, I was either horrendously bullied as a kid, I had a troubled upbringing. And you go, this is why you're here, Dark Carnival. You are here to face this dark thing that you're still afraid of. And that is what I sell. So the advice to the individual is do what you do well. Don't try to please everyone. The people that will come to you will come to you. You are not here to try and take people, and you're not here to try and hold people.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my business model too.
Yeah. you get to choose your engagement with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other aspect, and here's the hard part, is you got to do it with passion.
Yes.
And you can't just phone in your classes. You have to do it with passion. Even if it's a night where you aren't in the mood to teach, you look, it's all upper belts, you could tell they want to roll. You got to say, okay, guys, let's roll with passion, right? Because that's what will carry you. And subconsciously, I think people are attending because they have a passion. And you want that passion enhanced, not diminished upon entering the world in which you want to express yourself and escape. Because I personally think part of what we do and our students is, for me, in a highly stressful world with stressful families and all that stuff, when I'm rolling around, the only thing that exists is that. It's probably one of the few times that even when I sleep, I'm not escaping really.
Or we could use the
anxiety,
word
right?
meditate.
Meditate, yep.
Yeah.
It sounds better.
It sounds
Meditation in
better.
motion, yeah.
Yep.
It absolutely is.
Relief.
You people trying to escape from reality, hiding off in your martial arts.
Nice.
That's literally why I have that
Well,
tattooed.
no, it's a
I'm
break.
teasing.
I literally have that tattooed on my thumb.
You do? What does it
Sorry,
say?
now.
Oh, now.
Yeah. And it was, again, going back to a conversation we had ages ago, It is, yeah. Like when you know you might be about to lose your job, your whoever, but when you're on the mats and you're being choked, your brain can't be on the couch.
It's now.
Mm-hmm.
It has to come back now. And it's like, yeah, cool. And that's what I love about martial arts. And we have to do it now. We can't think about it. It's that. So yeah,
Be here now.
Yeah, be here now. And that's one of the greatest things about martial arts.
Nice. That's great.
I like that better than escape.
Well,
So-
escape, definitely that term can invoke anxiety.
It makes
itself.
escape
Yeah.
makes me think about doing drugs.
I got you. Yeah. I get you. Yep, that makes sense.
All right, we got one more question I wanted to hit.
All right.
So this is Mighty Mouse 327.
Oh,
which
I
is
love you, Mighty
Cool.
Which
Mouse.
is our
handle,
man,
yeah.
our man Alan.
Alan.
Yep.
Our man
Yeah,
Alan.
that's Alan.
Hey, Chris and Melissa, love you guys on the podcast. I was curious how you came up with the term combat base for both the position and your business. Great name, by the way.
How'd you come up with the term combat base, Chris?
Back in the early days, when most of my mentors and instructors did not have very good command of the English language. Again, read The Mother Tongue by Bill Bryson. I remembered the name.
Bill Bryson has a lot of books.
Yes, he does. This position here, which is harder for me to get into, God, let me see, my knee pops, is a highly adaptable because you can go from guard to kneeling to standing. You can attack, retreat, and all that. So it is a base ready for a combat. And from the Marine Corps seated shooting position, which is where you realize that's adaptable because I can stand, I could go back, I can roll.
You can go
and all
prone.
that.
You can, yeah.
That's kind of where it came. I did not intend for the school or my association to be named combat based. Thanks to my first black belts in the UK, Helen-
Darren Curie.
Darren Curie said, we like the name, we're going with it. And I said, cool. And I followed their lead
Years later.
years later.
I don't know when they first started. Maybe the 99 or
Yeah.
I don't know when.
Yeah, I don't
Before
remember
I
either.
was
Yeah.
even in the picture. They've been in the picture longer than I've been in the picture.
That's so your leadership style.
But all it is a word, right? Yeah. And I think a cooler name would have been something like Dark Carnival. But once you're branded, you're branded. So
And Chris
we go
is
with combat base.
Chris is a reluctant leader of this organization.
Yes.
So Chris,
I am.
again, we've said this before, that this wasn't Chris's dream job. This wasn't his aspiration. This is just what happened.
Yes.
So when we're trying to think of what we're going to call our thing, we called it Jiu Jitsu Technical Laboratories for a minute.
At one point in time, yes.
That's cool too.
So
Jiu-Jitsu
as much as I
Technical
love it, I would rather be catching international criminals and murderers, but I'm doing this.
For now. For now.
So inspirational.
Nice. All right. So the last segment is a question for you, Mitch.
Oh, good.
So what's a fight that you wish you never fought?
Excellent. There's one in particular. Absolutely. So when I was 18, so legal drinking age in Australia is 18. And so when I was 18, I was a young'un. So what that means is, so Australian schooling system, you've got kindergarten, you've got primary school. So that's year 1 to 6. High school, years 7 to 10. And then college is year 11 and 12. So when you are in year 12, you should be turning 18. But young'uns, because they're born, like I'm born in February, so I was in school earlier. So I turned 17 when I was in year 12. So I'd finished year 12 and I'd gone and worked on a mine site with my brother. And so I did that for 6 months. And pretty much I didn't drink that much. So all I did was work and go to the gym. And so I came back like shredded. And I was 18, I was loaded with cash. And I was like, this is the best, right? 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And so, yeah, we were out in Civic one night, which is like the night spot, I guess. And especially at the time. And it was about 2-3 o'clock. And at South Pacific Rugby Club, which is South Pacs for short, which is literally the Islander club. So all the Islander rugby boys and everything were there, and we were there drinking, and it was about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and I was there with two of my friends, and we'd gone upstairs, and the night had gone on. We're like, okay, cool, time to go back to my friend's house, and hey, puppy, and we're waiting in the taxi line, and I noticed my friend overchained to someone, and this random guy just kicked him, and he's like, like, and then I see them like talking, and he points at me, and the guy runs over. I'm like, this is a bit weird, and he throws a kick, and I check it just automatically. The guy's like, yeah, and these two guys just materialize just next to me, and they're big boys, and I was like, hey boys, how you going, blah blah. And of course, my radar's not on. Nothing's on. I'm inebriated.
Your red zone
And
threat management
yeah,
skills
no,
are
no,
low
no,
at this point.
at all. At
You're
all.
in blue zone.
Yeah, no, like
pink zone.
white noise. We'll go with that. And yeah, these two guys started chatting to me, and it was very amicable initially. Oh, you do a bit of training and blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, man. Been doing Muay Thai for a couple of years. Oh, yeah, me too. And what's your favorite move? I went, it's part of like a grappling. It's where you kind of do like a push pull, and you take the spine out of alignment. It's really cool. And he's like, oh man, show me. I'm like, no, it's okay. And I went, no, he's like, dude, no, I train a bit myself. I'm interested. Back and forth. I went, okay, cool. I'll just do it gently, yeah? So like, hand goes around like lower back, and you kind of frame on the head, you take them out. And I'm doing it to this person, and this person goes, do you want to see my favorite move? And I go,
Oh, he sucker punches you.
boom! And I'm just going, locked onto him, headbutt me, then start driving, boom, back of the neck. And I'm there going like, it's just like ping pong, effectively. And I get knocked down, and, I stand back up, stupidly, start mouthing off. And boom, we're back on again. And the second time that I went down, the skinny kid, who was obviously their friend, like my head's literally on the gutter like that. And he just runs up and goes, boom.
Drop kicks. Oh.
And I had like zero shaved head at the time. And you could see the eyelets and the actual stitching on his laces from like there to there. Just because he just connected, perfect soccer kick. And I've flown back and gone, And of course, I'm stupid and haven't had enough at this point in time. So I stand up, and they're all kind of walking off. And what was funny was I had braces at the time, and like I've got ridiculous bones, and I had braces on for 5.5 years because my teeth didn't move. Like it's great. My teeth not any different, right? So they just didn't move, and so I've stood up and I'm mouthing off at this dude, and he's walked over. And he's going, you don't know when to fucking stay down here, you blah, blah, blah. So, you're a faggot, blah, blah, blah. You pussy, you're 3-on-1, fucking blah, blah, blah. You want to go again? Yeah, I fucking want to go again. And as he squared up, I'm bleeding. I've got claret leaking out like nothing else. And he had a white FUBU shirt on, like a jersey. And I was going, and just spat dead center. And I'm going, hit the deck, and I'm laughing, just bleeding. And he's going, yeah, fucking stay down. He's walked off. And then they assaulted this other dude that was randomly just standing there. Jeez. Because the guy's going, hey, leave him alone. And they've just walked up, boom, dropped him. So anyway, I get dragged out, and my mates dragged me out. They weren't very helpful during the event. And rinse, wash up. I'm like, oh, we're good. Like, this is fine. But that was completely unnecessary. And I did not have to do that. And it was just ego. Again, ego. And I'm like, no, I can do this. I can do this. Not against 3 people, you can't. Yeah. And not when you are heavily inebriated. And, it's been a long night. And, and I was like, oh, my God. And that could have gone so badly. Because weeks later, I was out again, nightclub and that. And I see this dude in this, like, the full wire neck frame. And he comes up to me and goes, hey, dude, are you okay? I'm like, better than you, man. What's up? And he goes, I saw you get hit. And I said something and they hit me. I was like, oh, you're the guy they hit. And he goes, yeah, I fractured this, that, and whatever. I'm like, whoa. And that was from one shot.
Yeah. Could have been you.
That could have been me. And I went, dude, I owe you a drink. And he goes, I can't drink at the moment. I was like, yeah, okay.
Can't do much of anything.
Months later, I ran into him again without the brace. He just had the neck brace on. And yeah, bought him a drink. We had a good chat, and I was like, that was just really messed up that these guys are spoiling for a fight, and I was stupid enough to go, let's go.
There's always guys spoiling for a fight.
They say you never wear your gi to the bar. Never wear your gi to the bar.
No,
That's what they say.
no.
Oh my God.
That's exactly
Never wear
it,
your
right?
gi to the bar.
That's exactly it. And yeah, that was my one fight that I was just like, that was an absolute ego fight.
Nice.
And shouldn't have done it, wouldn't have done it, couldn't have done it, but here we are, let's go.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Nice.
It's easy to get really, really hurt street fighting.
That's
Training street will get you hurt.
Absolutely. Because either injures me or it injures you. Like, no, this isn't a good outcome.
No.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think that's it for today. I think we want to respect everybody's time and make sure you're only here for a couple days. We want to make sure you get in what you need to get in.
Absolutely.
Everyone else has got to get off to their stuff, but thanks so much for taking the
Pleasure.
time to
Thanks,
hang
Mitch.
with
Pleasure
us.
and an honor,
It's
honestly.
totally
Because
cool.
right now, guys, on the other side of the flat Earth, it is winter over there.
It is.
Yeah.
I
The
fled
flat
winter.
Earth. A flat
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, I fled
Nice.
winter.
Oh, you fled.
Yeah, I fled. I was out.
Well, I'll look forward to training more next time you come. and
Absolutely.
Maybe if I ever
Absolutely.
get down there, we'll see you.
Yes.
Yep, if any of you guys are ever in Australia, go to the Dark Carnival
Yep.
Gym.
Yeah.
darkcarnival.com.au. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Pound,
Like and subscribe. All right, guys, you can check out the seminars with Chris in 2024. We've got a list of them, starting with this Saturday, July 20th at Modern Fighting Concepts in Atlantic City, New Jersey. August 10th, Chris will be at Loyalty BJJ in Elko, Nevada. August 17th, Patriots in Quebec, Canada. He's going to be a guest instructor with Matt Thornton on August 18th at SBG SoCal. September 7th, SBG Boise, Idaho. September 21st, Outsiders Combat Club in Oklahoma City. September 28th, Hybrid Combat Martial Arts in Amarillo, Texas. October 5th, Damage Fight and Foundations Together in Madison, Wisconsin. October 6th, Warhorse Jiu Jitsu in Winona, Illinois. And October 13th at Combat Base Visalia in California. These are all different opportunities to have seminars with Chris. We're booking seminars for the end of the year and into 2025. If you're interested, please email me at info@combatbase.com. Chris is also teaching classes at UACTP in downtown Los Angeles every Monday and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. He teaches 2 Tuesday nights per month at 7 p.m. at SBG SoCal in Pasadena. Both excellent facilities to visit, drop in, or join as a member. We have merchandise at combatbase.com. You can pick up art prints, t-shirts, rash guards, board shorts, trucker hats. We have a few gis left from our last run that we did with Origin. Hit up combatbase.com, get some merch. You can also email podcast@combatbase.com with your questions that you would like to see us answer. So all of these different things are available, combatbase.com. Memberships available to watch our video library with over 100 videos. We have other types of memberships available for groups and individuals. So check out what we have available and sign up for our mailing list.